Hi, welcome to How to Be a Humane Leader Without Losing Your Job. In this podcast, we dive into compassionate leadership in today's fast paced business environment. With our experience and insights, will help you lead with heart while securing your career. Join us for engaging conversations and practical advice to elevate your leadership skills and make a real difference. I'm your host, Roberto Torres, a seasoned startup engineering leader, alongside Chris Ollerkin, a Fortune 100 IT leader. Today, we're discussing how would you link Deming's 14 quality points with the humane leadership. My man, how are you?
I'm doing good, Roberto. Hope all is well with you and your family and your puppy dogs too.
Indeed. It is. Everything is okay. Uh, Deming's 14 points provide a powerful framework for achieving quality control and continuous improvement in organizations. When it comes to humane leadership, these points align closely with the principle we have discussed in our podcast. How would you say these ones how would you say these ones connect, with the humiliation and demands?
Well, I mean, there's 14 points that the primary articles talk about, and we'll put some links maybe to the description so people can read everything in more detail. One of the things that I thought about Deming for me personally is, right, it was trying to measure and improve things. And I think anytime that we start to measure productivity, quality, things like that, it allows us to reflect on what can we do to improve. And so from being a humane leader, that's one of the things we talk about, right? Is that if we're measuring our success, are we looking for objective things that we can measure that we're doing good as a manager and helping support people's growth? Well, Deming's things were, while more focused on manufacturing originally, you can leverage some of these things to think about how you'll measure your success with both the people that report to you and maybe to the people you report upwards to, right? Almost everybody has bosses in both directions, right? So that's one of my philosophies is just, hey, it's about measurement and being objective, and a humane leader always wants to be very objective about how they're measuring success.
Yeah, totally agree. And the thing is, a humane leader has to create this quality vision and know when to implement it in the short, medium, and long term, and really be aware of all these steps and stages to while in these stages. Otherwise, it will fail. It's like a planning.
Yes,
I,
yes, completely agree.
Yeah, because if you fail with something or you don't care about it or you deviate from the process, they will crumble.
Right. Yeah. And in that process, one of the, a thing that it mentions too is around, not measuring at the very end, like just don't measure just the output. And as a good humane leader, you're coaching your people along the way of the project. On one hand, you say, well, I want to empower them to learn from their mistakes. Yeah, but if you completely take a hands-off approach and you're only measuring their success at the very end and they've failed, you didn't coach for success along the way. A humane leader wants people to improve, not learn by failing. You got to let them, make some mistakes, but not fail. And so you would want to be coaching them through the whole process, which is an important part of Deming's philosophy, right? Is catching those things as you're going along so that you're really kind of correcting in process and helping people be more successful. And a humane leader is always helping everyone be more successful.
Yeah, and also what I think is rather than pointing out the error, one of your reports does an error, rather than pointing out is, okay, what can we learn from that mistake? But both of us, it's not only you, it is myself also, because I am the leader, and maybe I did some mistakes that caused the error, that caused that error in you. But what can we learn? And then I think that with that gain knowledge, you as a human leader have to spread that knowledge into the team, and then maybe through the organization, because in the end, that quality doesn't apply only to your department. It goes around because it permeates through all the company.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree. One of Deming's points is, doing training on the job, right? And lots of times our employees, they want promotions. Hey, boss, you're talking with them either in your biweekly or weekly meetings, or maybe it's a performance review, and they want promotions. They want more money. Well, Deming says, well, if we're training you on the job, you're learning and building the employee's value along the way. So just like you said, you learn from those mistakes, but realize too that you should train ahead of the mistake too, because it's a failure on the boss's part. I didn't communicate it well. I didn't maybe train them or educate them in something, and therefore they couldn't succeed because they didn't know something, right? Either whether it wasn't I didn't communicate the expectation, or I didn't communicate how to do something the right way. So using training on the job helps them get it right, but it also helps their career because they're gaining more skills, and then you can use that in performance review time to talk about how they are more valuable and potentially, have opportunities for promotions or at least in grade pay raises that are above average.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. And one thing also that we have to get pretty clear about this is that we require data to know that we are measuring something about it, because we cannot do it, by gut, our gut. In the end, we require data, because if we don't, and we think, we will assume, and that's not the point of, nor of the quality, nor of a biased evaluation, a bias, So yes, we require data, and I'm telling you this because I know that you have this huge mindset regarding big organization, but sometimes, or just most times, in startups, we don't have that data. Why? Because maybe we're focused on something else. We do have a quality mindset because we are only thinking about putting the customer first, but we require to have data, because otherwise, when an engineer comes to me and maybe after a year of working or close into a year, and say, hey, I'm going to be 1 year, I don't know, in a way, I want a promotion, I want bigger salary, and you don't have that data, it's going to be really difficult for me to provide that promotion and be a unbiased, excuse me, not biased, unbiased.
Yes, being unbiased, right? As a humane leader is always trying to be objective and having that kind of measure like you're talking about. That's something you can objectively discuss with someone and say, did it, quote unquote, measure up? So whenever possible, Deming was about statistics. He was a statistics guy, right? And so being able to truly have those measures and have those discussions with your engineer along the project, at the end of the project, and also at performance review time, that's critical, because being objective is what a humane leader does.
Yeah, yeah, and also one thing that we have to be aware of this is that we have to put our customers' needs first, not the pressure our customer is providing us, because with the data and the customer needs, we will go the proper way. And with that is something that I told, I think it was last week in a meeting, when I mentioned to the C-level that we could have uh, like this. We could have a KPI in engineering that goes along with the business, and that was a customer churn, against
Hmm.
a code churn. If we have a customer in which we have created some code and it is specific to this customer, and this customer leaves, it goes the churn. The problem is that our code will churn as well, and that is money spent, time spent that won't come. So we we require to be really aware of the customer needs rather than the pressure of doing this. That's why we had Tech Debt. That is something for another episode, you know?
No, absolutely. And again, that kind of gets back to that, you know, coming to an agreement between those departments, right? And one of Deming's things is around breaking down the barriers between departments to make sure that you have agreement on what you're going to do and how you're going to measure that success, and that customer churn, is something that you can technically measure. It's not a subjective, it sort of doesn't feel as good. Well, you
Yeah.
can't really measure that, right? But losing the customer, you can measure that when they cancel a subscription, let's say, if that's the model of the business, for example.
Yeah, and for that you have to predict and prepare the challenges that are going to come because they're going to affect our team. Maybe we're going to have, I don't know, probably in 2 months' time we're going to have to deliver something really tight with a tight schedule, and we're going to have a lot of pressure. Well, today prepare for that. Don't be thinking about only weeks away or days away, because the stress, the pressure, everything that it is negative is going to rise up, maybe even the burnout. And if it comes the burnout before the project begins, it's totally mayhem. So we had to do that not only for the business side of this, but also for the humane leader, because we have to talk with our team. Hey guys, this is the situation. We have to prepare. How are we going? And we have to let the team suggest what are we going to do, what we're going to prepare, how are we going to achieve this and balance as well, without decreasing our numbers, decreasing our performance.
Right. And having the employees engaged in kind of setting how we're going to achieve it, what we're going to measure, what is success measured by, right? That helps them eliminate their fear of what the future is, right? So if they're in alignment with you and they're very open and communicating to you as you're setting those things, you're being a humane leader. They're engaged. They're more willing to look at things from different angles to be successful for the whole team, not just the individual. Hey, I got my module done. The other three guys didn't. I'm going to get promoted now. That's not the way the company can be successful, right? Everybody has to have an equal share of the success. Yes, some people have to achieve more than others and they will get promoted. That's just the hierarchy of the pyramid of work structures. But you can't have people feeling they're going to succeed in those measurements at the detriment of other team members. So eliminating that fear so everybody can talk about it, feel that the work is evenly divided amongst the skill sets and the team members, and that they agree on what the success looks like, helps eliminate their fear of that future.
Yeah, and for that, the whole team has to have the same quality mindset. That's why I mentioned earlier that the whole organization, the whole company requires to have this quality mindset, but the team has to do it, because it cannot work this way, as you mentioned. I do my work. I don't care what happens with the rest of the team or this. No, it has to be aligned to our mindset. So it is a responsibility mandatory for the humane leader to implement this quality mindset among the team and with you. So that's why you don't find what you did wrong or what a team member did wrong. You have to eliminate, delete the wrongs altogether because we have to learn from that. So I'm being redundant for something that I mentioned earlier, but I think it's really, really important with equality because it is, you know, every podcast I had to give an analogy, and today is not going to be this way. But it is like this. Let's say that you have gained weight, and you get into the mirror and say, "Oh my God, I have a little belly. My belly has grown." You won't say, "Okay, I will put on a diet, and I won't weigh myself twice a week or once a week. I will go to the mirror, and depending on what I saw, I will say if I achieve it or not." No, it doesn't work like that. You have to have a quality mindset and a process to follow. So it happens the same at the department. You have to measure, otherwise it won't work.
Yep. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think, as people go through and think about being a humane leader, being led by a humane leader, participating in an organization that's trying to be humane, the points Deming is making can absolutely be integrated into a company that is being humane. I've seen implementations of this be a bit inhumane too, where they take the human beings out of the equation, and unfortunately, they kind of missed Deming's point. His perspective was we're going to improve production and we're going to improve the business. The business will be successful and it will lift all boats, but it will not necessarily lift all boats equally. So there are always going to be people who are overachievers. They work harder, they put in more hours, they learn more things, they invest in themselves and get more educated. They're the ones who are going to probably get promoted. And so as a humane leader, I think as we teach these quality skills to people, we need to make it clear it doesn't mean that we're suddenly socialist and everyone's equal and therefore everything is going to lift everybody and everybody's going to get the same pay raise and that kind of stuff. What it means is we're going to measure everybody equally, and those who do really well may get rewarded more than others. And that's something where you got to be very careful with some of these Six Sigma and Deming's points and things like that, where if you take it too literally and just get into measurements, you've lost the point of being a humane leader.
Yeah, and totally agree with that. And when change arrives, sometimes the team it isn't prepared, and I think the team we had to, and I mentioned, excuse me that I'm being redundant, but some of the points within Deming's 40 points goes along with another point, so I'm linking that. The thing is, also you had to prepare yourself and the team for a major change in the business. Maybe, as you mentioned before, maybe our model it is SaaS. We have a subscription or we have something like that. But maybe that doesn't work. We decide to change it to another business model. Well, we had to be prepared. Otherwise, we cannot, as a human leader, we cannot simply manage. We had to go our mind to go with many different scenarios and act accordingly. Maybe it's like Doctor Strange in Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War, in which he saw 14 million scenarios and said, only one is going to be the one that we're going to win that way, man.
It's a possibility. I agree. It's a possibility. I think the key part is realizing that when you're transforming, everybody has to participate it, but everybody's going to look at it in a different way. So just as an example, when you said, we're going to go from a SaaS model of subscription to maybe we're going to go to a different licensing model or something like that. Okay, for the engineers, there's some programming things that they need to change, but for the salespeople, their sales targets or their sales compensation might need to change too. So sometimes a business strategy change because you're adopting, a different business model, and let's say you are going to be very strictly following Deming's process. Realize too that different people are going to get impacted a different way. The programming and engineering staff may have to engineer the product differently. There's technical things there. How do they feel about it? How do you coach them through changing that? But if you're in the sales team and you change, now that my license, somebody might buy a license, and when it was subscription, the revenue kept coming. So maybe they got a portion of that revenue the whole time. But you switch to a license model where they can buy the license, and if they choose, never buy the license again. How do you adequately compensate the salesperson? That changes that model. So understanding that everybody can have a different perspective as you're adopting Deming's model or any other philosophy, the humane leader looks at that and says, all right, I think I understand how it impacts me as the engineering leader, but how does it affect my coworker who's the sales leader? And his department might get really negatively impacted if we change licensing models for our product. And so being a humane leader is recognizing transformation can be a positive for some people, and for some people it could be a negative.
Yeah, and through that recognition, a humane leader has to apply, I think the first point, Deming, that it is create a constant purpose toward improvement by you, by the team, by everyone. Because even though your team might be doing many improvements, but other departments in the company want or wouldn't, whatever, you have to go with the other leaders, maybe scale it, go higher in the ladder and mention, okay, we're doing this and the other ones aren't. I think it is something that has to be a purpose. If you do it by heart, along with your brain, with your mindset and everything, changes are going to flow easy. The results are going to be, more satisfactory.
Well, satisfactory, yes.
Yes, thank you. And it will be much better for the motivation along the team.
And the team members, can sense how you're feeling about it too. And so recognize as you're going through changes like this, as you may feel a little uneasy about what the change is, be open and honest with your team about that. Look, I'm a little concerned about it. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to get through it, but we're going to get through it together. And, tell me your ideas, because I'm not going to think of all the ways to improve the process. All of us have to help, make improvements. And I think if you're, very open and honest with them, admitting where you're unclear on something, hey, help me think this through, and that kind of collaboration as a humane leader can make the Deming processes work better, because no one person knows the right way to do everything. And you need to rely on your team. It is a team for a reason. It's teamwork. And, get together and think about, how do you improve that? How do you communicate with your team members to get them, in this new philosophy of quality and quality and continuous quality improvement?
Yeah, indeed, because there is no I in team.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great. Maybe with this, we could do the wrap up.
Certainly.
Okay, awesome. It was an amazing discussion. I really love it, Chris. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of How to Be a Humane Leader Without Losing Your Job. We hope our insights help you become a smarter and more strategic leader. Apply today's lessons to see the positive impact on your team and career. Catch all our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and YouTube as well. Join us next week as we discuss something trendy in the leadership world. Until then, stay humane and stay successful. Bye bye, Chris.
See you later, Roberto.